Welcome and thank you so much for supporting us and the great people we feature on this channel. Today we're speaking with fine art appraiser and art advisor Donna Thompson-Ray from ATFA Appraisals. Hi, Donna.
Hi, April. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm excited. For our audience and for me to learn about appraisals, it's very exciting. So I'm ready to jump right in. So would you mind getting us started with a brief introduction?
Oh, sure, sure. Well, I'm Donna Thompson Ray, and I come to this work as a former photographer and also doing curatorial work for many years, working with artist friends of mine, working with a lot of Black women artists in particular. I was a member of Coast to Coast National Women Artists of Color in the 1990s. Yes, I'm of age.
Well, you're looking very good.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And essentially, I kind of charted this path after college. Just after college, I moved to London.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, I moved to London. I was supposed to go directly to Italy, but I made a detour that lasted over a year and a couple of months in London. And at the time, I needed work because I was a college student and I needed to, have a roof over my head and pay for food and stuff like that as a very young 22-year-old, 23-year-old. And I decided that if I was going to stay in London, then I need to do the work that was closest to my heart. So I had to be in the art world in some fashion or another. And the most concrete job I could think of to get was to work in a gallery, right? I had done some of that work in school, coordinating the gallery monitors. I went to University of Rochester, and I said, okay, that's the job I'm going to get, and that's the job that I found. And
That's
I found,
amazing.
yeah, I tell you, you know what? It really speaks to alignment,
It really does.
I have
Wow.
to
I mean,
say.
you're totally in another country.
Yeah,
And even though you've done the work before, I mean, they say that sometimes it's hard to find work when you're in
absolutely.
another country. So bravo.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how was that experience?
It was really, really wonderful. I could feed myself, but the money wasn't flowing.
Right.
So, girl had to get a second job, but that was okay because at least the first job, my primary was speaking to my heart, right?
Right.
And I found a position at a art gallery that focused on contemporary Black art.
Wow.
So coming from college and actually not at all being exposed to the work of Black artists historically and in the contemporary moment, I was thrilled. I was thrilled. And this gallery's name was Westbourne Gallery. It's no longer in existence. And the director of the gallery, Sonny McNorthy, was from Ghana.
Mm.
So he was showcasing work of artists from the continent, artists from the Caribbean and Afro Latin America, and African American artists. And that was my training ground. And I just absorbed everything he taught me. As a matter of fact, he even taught me how to frame,
Oh,
right?
nice.
So it's not just like typing out press releases and
Right.
writing labels and helping him to install work on the wall, but he taught me a practical thing, right? Learning how to
So were
frame
you
artwork.
building the frames? Were you actually
He was,
building them?
yes, he was a
Wow.
master framer,
Oh,
a
nice.
master framer. So yes, he was building the frames. Besides the mat, that we purchased from the stores, from the art stores, he was actually building the frames, and he framed all the artwork that he exhibited. So I was able to learn like A to Z type of
That's
skills on
amazing.
managing a gallery. And I don't know how many months it took, but he promoted me to gallery director while
Wow.
working alongside him. Yeah, he had quite a lot of faith in me.
But you
And
must have shown something to him. I don't think he would just take that risk.
yeah, yeah, I was earnest about the time I was spending and purposeful,
Right.
again, back to those intentions. And I was committed. I was totally committed. And when I came back to the States, I really wanted to continue that kind of work, April, but the salaries were really low.
Wow.
And, they used to say, well, I was not a trust fund baby,
Right.
right? So I had to get real practical. And when I returned to New York, I'm originally from New York, I immersed myself in another love that's basically runs parallel to my artwork interests, and that it was in intercultural exchange. And I have to say that over the years, I've managed to do both things because my art focus, my appraisal, my art advisory focus is on art of the African diaspora. I've never ever let go of that. And I really like working with people from different countries around the world. So that's been, my great love, as well as history, US history, world history, African studies. So I've been fortunate.
And all of that kind of makes sense because there's some doing an appraisal, I'm sure involves your history, your knowledge of history, and having to research and things of that nature. And then how would you say that, well, how did you say you made it to the role of art appraiser?
In the 90s, I had my first child. And when that had occurred, I put the photography work to the side, as well as a lot of other stuff, because I got busy. I just got busy. And, it's something that I would love to go back to, but I haven't recommitted to photography as a practitioner. But I knew that I wanted to study the history of photography. I knew I wanted to do something in the art world,
Right.
right? But not necessarily, as an active photographer or as a curator. And this continues to be a concern of mine always. I knew too that Black artists were not afforded the value on their art production as white artists or non-Black artists are, right? The closer you are to European, you know, better positioning you have in the art market. That was just the facts, right?
Yeah.
And it's still a challenge today, right? It's still a challenge today. And that's when I learned about appraisal work. And I said, oh, if I can be part of this conversation around bringing value to Black artists' works, I'm in.
Right.
I'm in. I want to be in that conversation. So that's what steered me to appraisal work. And I have to say, too, if it's not evident to our viewers here, it was also for me a social justice, concern, right? I was like, no, this is not right.
Right.
This is not right. The math is not math and the economics are not working. And, I saw the beauty and value of our historical contributions, our globally historical contributions. And I just wanted to be in those conversations and make a difference.
So what does that look like in terms of, is it like piece by piece that you feel like you're able to bring that desire, the social aspect into? So like when you appraise one piece at a time, do you feel like you're able to in some way? What does that look like exactly?
Mhm. Yeah, good question. Good question. So, as an appraiser, I cannot be biased, but I am going to present the facts, right? And behind those facts, I'm presenting an argument for towards a value conclusion. So, since I'm researching the work of Black artists globally, I'm going to do extra digging. I'm not going to look at the surface and say, this artist has no market because they've never been at auction. Or this artist has no market because They've never been picked up by a known gallery, right? Or worked with the dealer. There's always a market for the artist's work. Because, I mean, we both know, I'm sure, with your own experience, that a lot of artists have a consistent clientele over decades and decades that are purchasing their work. Now, it doesn't mean there's not a market. There is a market. So one has to look at that. Other appraisers who are not invested in our work and our history may not go that extra mile. And yeah, and that's just an unfortunate, more than an unfortunate oversight that should be corrected.
Would you call that a challenge? Is it challenging for you when you're having to do that type of digging?
It is challenging. It is challenging because it does take more time.
I see.
But once you are a part of the community, people can make referrals to you on who to
Okay.
talk to, right?
Oh, I
You
see.
know, your local gallery that may not be in New York and, may not be in Tribeca or Soho or 57th Street in New York City, but could be in a local community in Brooklyn, a local community in the Bronx, the Lower East Side before it was gentrified.
I
They're the
lived there
keepers.
at one point.
Yes, okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
No, they're the keepers of a lot of that information. They have the records. They've been exhibiting those artists and selling those artists' works for many, many years. And they know the collectors who've acquired the works over the years.
So, how would you say you approach appraising different type of art, such as you might have paintings, you might have sculptures? Do you appraise photography as well?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
How do
Yeah,
you,
I
what
do.
is are there different techniques or specialized techniques or approaches to doing the different types of artworks?
Well, when I get an appraisal assignment, when a prospective client calls me, I first ask the question of what's the purpose behind the appraisal? That's the A number one thing. Like, why are you contacting me? Has something, what significant thing has happened?
Right.
Hopefully, could be a divorce, it could
Mhm.
be peril in your home, you've had a
Mhm.
flood, you've had a fire,
Okay.
um, could have been a theft. It could be, I need some money. I need to sell
Right.
this artwork, or I think I got a good deal on a work and I want to make sure that I'm spending the money that's the right amount of money to spend on the work. So can you help me? So it starts there, charitable donation, etc. And then from there, I determine like the scope of work for the project, right? And that also goes to the type of value that's being placed on the work. So, for
Okay.
example, if you're doing an insurance appraisal, you're looking at retail replacement value.
Mhm.
Right? So
Okay.
that's kind of right. Retail would be like the highest value you could place on the work in case you need to replace it. What's it going to cost you? What is its retail value? What is its sale price? What does it cost to reframe it to be made whole again? If you're doing charitable donation work, by and large, you're looking at auction sale prices, right? So what are the most recent results of works that are comparable to your subject property that you're appraising? So it's not so much a difference between the different mediums,
Okay.
but what is the appraisal problem to solve?
Interesting.
Yeah,
You didn't never
yeah.
thought that.
I know.
I
Like
never thought
generally you
that.
hear, the big, I don't get this question that often actually, but I used to. And that is, I just want to know. Okay. I just want to, like, I
Yeah,
get it.
it goes into your process.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to know. I can do, I just want to know appraisals, but I caution folks and say, this is not a definitive value. I can give
Right.
you a range, but if you want to sell it to your friend Jane down the road and your sales price is $10 and Jane says, "I'll give you $9.50,
Right.
$9.50," and you say, "Sold," you kind of set a market price there
Right. That's
for the
90%.
work. So yeah, so you just look at it from that perspective.
And how do you I have another question before that because you just made me think. So typically the person coming to you is the owner of the piece. Do you ever have some people who are interested in buying a piece?
Yeah, I've mostly, yes, they are
Okay.
the owners of the piece, but I've had
Okay.
someone contact me. It was an attorney, in fact, contacted me. He wanted to purchase some Haitian art, and the art was actually located, I believe it was located outside of the country. It was a while ago now. And he wanted to make sure he was getting an appropriate
I
price
see.
for the work.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
help him with that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And how do you ensure authenticity of an artwork?
Oh, yeah, great question. Appraisers are not authenticators. As a matter of fact,
Ah,
I did a YouTube video on this because a client had called a couple months ago and, oh, I have this work I purchased at an antique store, and it's from X artist who's present in the news because of a big sale. And it looks just like that artist's work. I don't see a signature. Don't see I don't see a date.
yikes.
I I don't see anything other, I don't see any other information on this work.
Wow.
Um, so I said, "Oh, that's wonderful, and I'm glad you saw fit to purchase the work. I am not an authenticator. Now we have to go find the authenticators for that artist's work.
Wow.
Those folks would be like an art historian,
Hmm.
could be the artist dealer, their gallery, they have a foundation, or the folks who are managing their estate if they're no longer alive. If the
Okay.
artist is alive, the artists themselves could authenticate the work. You really need to get the definitive look over of the work from someone who's working with that work consistently, right? Because they are the authenticators. Appraisers are not authenticators. Now, that said, I'm not saying there aren't appraisers out there who do authenticate. I do not.
Okay.
I absolutely do not. And that's because I'm a member of the American Society of Appraisers. And in our continuing education program, that is what we were told. They tell you this is your role,
Right.
okay? As an appraiser, you're doing value conclusions. You stay in your lane. You staying in your lane is really, really important. And even like you had mentioned that I'm both an appraiser and an art advisor. When I have on my appraiser's hat, I let the client know. When I have my art advisor's hat on, I let the client know because I don't want to mix up with conflict of interest.
I understand. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you mentioned a YouTube channel, so
Yes. Oh, yes.
talk a little bit about that while we're at it.
Oh, sure, 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 sure. Gosh, I started it many years ago, but got away from me. And the point behind the channel is I'm really interested in this conversation on investing in art, investing in Black art, groups coming together and owning shares of art. I'm very interested in that
That's
conversation.
interesting.
So that's kind of what I want to be exploring on the channel. And early on too, I was interested in NFTs. I need a
Not
PhD.
now, huh?
Yeah.
Put
I
that
kind of
to the side.
I kind of back that up a little bit. Yeah.
Right, right. So that's interesting what you said about groups of people. Is that something that exists now? I know that Masterworks is a company that does that, but it
Right.
sounds like what you're talking about is actually smaller groups that might get together. Is that what you're
Or
referring to?
something in between the two. I have to do more research.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to do more research. I want to know about the successful models out there.
Okay.
So my channel, in a way, is really going to get out like my journey through understanding
Oh, that sounds exciting.
landscaping and black art.
I
Yeah.
will definitely be watching. I got so wrapped up in that, I forgot to keep looking at my questions. Well, since we took a little detour with the YouTube, which we definitely will be putting her information in the description below, so keep an eye out.
Thank you.
But it's basically ATFA Appraisals, right? If they
Right.
type that
Yes.
in, they'll find you. So,
That's right. Go to YouTube and search ATFA Appraisals, and you'll find me.
okay. Well, we're excited to see what you have coming up. So we're going to take a little short detour and ask just little questions that we ask that have nothing to do with appraisal. So the first one is, if you could meet any living person for dinner, who would you pick and why?
Oh my goodness. Any living person for dinner? Hmm, You know who I'd like to meet? I'd like to meet Cynthia Bailey,
Oh, okay.
the fashion model and now actress, because she's my birthday buddy.
Oh, what's your
Yeah,
birthday?
February 19th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Pisces?
yes,
Oh,
exactly,
okay.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so I'd like to meet her probably, and actually, I believe also Jay Clapper. That's the newsman on CNN.
Hmm.
I
I
may
am,
not have the name. I may not have the last name.
and I'm not I don't watch the news.
Okay,
I
but
mean,
but my point with that is, yeah, I'd
right.
like to meet other people born on the same
Oh,
day. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
What
Jerry
would be
Saltz,
the big
also the
question?
art critic.
Oh, okay. What
Yeah.
would be like that? Quite like one. If you had one question, they gave you one question to ask, and you have to be quiet the rest of the dinner. What would be that one big question? Do you think you would
Oh,
ask?
I think I would ask them if they hadn't pursued the profession that they did, what else would they have done?
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah, yeah.
And what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Well, the stay in your lane advice is like,
A good one in your profession, right?
yeah, that was really helpful, and my mentor actually gave me that phrase, and it really just stuck with me.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
Well,
but
that's a good
actually,
one. I mean, stay
mhm,
in your lane. That can
lane,
apply to life,
right,
especially like on social media where people don't like to necessarily stay in their lane. So
right,
that's a
right.
good one. We'll all take that one.
Okay,
Stay in your lane.
good.
And what skill do you think everyone should have?
Hmm. Okay, so what came to my heart immediately was the skill to smile.
Oh,
The skill, yeah, yeah. My husband and daughter and I took salsa lessons together.
oh, nice.
Must have been maybe over 2 or 3 years. We're all taking salsa lessons together.
Oh, so you've been doing it over 2 or 3 years now?
Well, I haven't done it in a couple years, but together
Okay.
there was a time period where we
Oh, I
were,
see.
yeah,
I
two or
see.
3 years. And one of the things our teacher told us, because we performed, I
Oh,
only did it
really?
one time. My husband went on to perform. My daughter and I did it one
Wow.
time. But he continued to perform. So
Nice.
when he was instructing us on our dance choreography, he would say, "Smile at the audience," and that just took to me. I said, "Okay, no matter what I'm doing, I don't care what my feet, my arms, my leg,
Right.
whatever. I'm gonna smile
Right.
right through it." And then he would make a remark in the class, and Donna's smiling. I'm
That's right. I like that one. Another good one. Good, good. Chick, chick, chick. Okay, and then we have one last one. If you could pick a new talent or skill in an instant, or pick up, I should say, in an instant, so you're instantly excellent at it,
like,
what would it be?
swimming.
swimming. Oh,
Yeah. And it goes back to childhood days when I was a good swimmer and I just didn't continue. I I stopped swimming, and I don't know why I stopped swimming, but that's a skill that I want to have again.
can you swim like a little bit at least, or you
Oh yeah,
like
I
okay.
can.
So
Yeah,
you
I can.
retained some of it. It's just that
Yeah,
you'd like to be really good at it.
yeah. I would. I would. Like I could do the floating on the back thing.
Oh, I can do that.
Yes, I love it. I love floating on my back. That what I would say would be my specialty. But
That's
I
so
would love to know how to,
relaxing.
I used to dive and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I would return to that.
Okay, so we're going to get back into appraisals. Thanks for taking that detour with me. It was fun. I like how you
Yeah,
added
thank
a little
you.
extra to each answer. Okay, can you share some of the most memorable or one of the most memorable or unique pieces of art you've appraised in your career?
My.
And have you been involved in appraising any famous or historical significant artworks or items?
Yeah, I would say to answer the second question first. I mean, I can identify some of the artist works that I've appraised. I mean, it just takes my breath away. Sam Gilliam's work,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Sam Gilliam's work. I
Okay.
was fortunate to have appraised Norman Lewis, Vandersea, James Vandersea
Wow.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, it's a Butler's work.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
and
what was that like? What would you say it was like?
yeah, it was. How can I say? Well, great pride. First of all, just great pride, and pride in the sense of um, seeing the work itself. And
Right.
some of it, if the work also had some kind of historical significance, that was also very meaningful to
Right.
me.
Right.
So seeing the work itself, if it's in the hands of a Black collector, feeling so wonderful for them that they have this work in their collection, and then feeling challenged, like, wow, I wonder what numbers are going to come up
Right.
for this artist, or like what's going on in their market. So, having the time to research that. And also in the research too, you come across the ways that people have spoken of how they describe the work and its significance, how it travels in the market through various collections. If the work is at a museum, it's part of
Mm,
a permanent collection, if it's part of a
right.
series, etc. So kind of looking at the, no, the framework of
Right.
how this work is operating socially, out there.
And does that go into your report? Do you include
Some of that
that?
information
Okay.
does, yeah. I mean, like the information around the provenance is really, really important. And
Mm,
that also gets back to your question around authenticity. So seeing what collections the work has been held in, that's really important. That does add to value. If it's been exhibited, that does add to value. Yes.
and does the person have to show, like, let's say it's someone who's purchased it, do you require like a receipt or something to show?
I asked them to kindly hand over, yes, any receipts that they can find. And I tell you, it's not uncommon that folks don't have receipts. Even me, like, I don't know, I don't have receipts
Right.
for all these works. Now I'm much better at it. My stuff is now digitized, but some of this stuff I haven't got a receipt for it. So as much information as they can tell me, will help cut down on my research, which is my time, which is
Exactly.
real dollars, right?
Right. It adds
Dollars.
to the fee.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And mentioning the pieces behind you, would you call yourself an art collector?
I'm definitely an art collector,
Okay.
and I lean towards the work of my artist friends. or artists that I've worked with over the
Right.
years.
Mhm.
So I really try to support the people that I know and care about,
That's
and
wonderful.
yeah, and want to see, their careers flourish. I really do
Right.
lean towards that. And then if I come across something that says, "Take me home," right? I do that too,
If
right?
it's
I do
yelling
I
at
do
you.
that too. Yeah,
So do you go
absolutely.
to art fairs and things like that?
I do, because that's a part of my work, right?
Anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
that
exactly.
makes
As an
sense.
appraiser, I have to be at the art fairs. I've got to see what people are showing and know what the pricing is looking like. What are people responding to? How's the public responding to the work?
So like Art Basel and those type of fairs?
Yes, yeah,
Um,
I'll be at Basel this year. I've got to book my flight.
are you going
Actually,
to do you go to the which one? There are like several now. The Miami
I
one?
I go to the Miami. Yeah, I
Okay,
go to the Miami one, and I try to go to some additional fairs that are showing or other
right.
exhibits that are in the area as well.
You're
Yeah,
being in New York, you have access to a lot.
yeah. New York is big.
Right,
There's a
right.
lot.
Big
There's a
on
lot. A lot to see, and I just try to stay focused.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't do it all. I
You
can't do it
can't.
all, and I've really cut down over the years. I think that has really more to do with age more than anything. Not going to the big receptions and stuff like,
Right,
but
right.
going to see the work after.
As a
Yeah.
collector, is there any value in going to the receptions, or is it just a good time?
I would say it's a little of both,
Okay,
because there's always a networking
that's true.
opportunity. But as you know too, in the art world, relationships. It's about relationships.
Right.
So it's good to know the dealers and the gallerists, the staff, the writers, the artists. It's good to know. It's good to circulate
Right.
as much as you can out there. Yeah.
That makes sense. And would you say there are any specific market factors or trends that are particularly relevant for art appraisers in the current art market?
Hmm. Well, I would say, generally speaking, we need to keep up within our area of specialization. Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. I would say first and foremost that, and then follow whatever's happening generally in the market. Yeah. So you really have to do both things. And I think, reading articles or acquiring exhibition catalogs, just trying to keep up with the scholarship, trying to keep up with the literature is important.
That's
And
good information.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So, speaking on catalogs and reading, are there any books that you would recommend? Maybe just not necessarily someone who wants to be an art appraiser, but yes, if someone wants to be an art appraiser, but also just a general collector.
Mhm. Yes, I would, as a matter of fact. Well, number one, if you are collecting African American art, especially art on paper, you'll want Dr. Halima Taha's book, Collecting African American Art. Now, I'm aware that it costs a pretty penny right now on the market.
It costs a pretty penny because it's
Yes,
out of print. Let's just
yeah,
let people know that
right,
that's the
right.
reason.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a
So,
collector's item now.
yeah. And I don't know actually I don't even know if it's, I guess maybe libraries have it. It could be, you
Yeah,
know,
libraries have it, so you could read it,
yeah,
but you could access it, read it, and then you have to give it back. So you can't keep it,
yeah,
but at least you can get the information. It is a
exactly.
gem. I agree. It is
Mhm.
a gem.
That is first and foremost. For folks in academe, you could potentially try to get like interlibrary loan, or you can ask them to photocopy
Okay,
chapters, specific chapters too. So
okay.
just a little tip.
Yeah, in case you don't have
Right,
the, want to spend or have it to spend
exactly.
at this time.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm. Then for African art, I have a book which is like, loosely I say it's my Bible or it's my go-to book,
Right.
and it's The Arts of Africa.
Good.
But it is my go-to book on traditional African art.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that song. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a really terrific book. And then I would say for photography, you'll want any book by Deborah Willis,
Okay.
Dr. Deborah Willis.
Right.
Any book, Deborah Willis, as we know, Dr. Deborah Willis, great photo historian, focusing on Black photographies. You'll want any book by Dr. Willis. Reflections in Black is essentially like a history on Black photography, but up to even her more recent book on Civil War Black soldiers. You'll want any book by her.
Wow. I'm glad I asked you that. You
Yeah.
gave me some good ones.
Yeah. And there are many more. I'm looking at what's on my top 3. If I had to select, like, these are the ones.
And that's a good starting point. So
Mhm.
we can keep digging from there, but that's a good start. And
Exactly.
like you said, we'll put it in the description below. And what would you say is the future of art appraisal?
Mm, mm.
And then coupled with that, just looking at some of the emerging trends and technologies that could impact the world of art appraisal.
Yeah, I think I can respond to that, both of those 2 questions very succinctly.
Right.
AI. Recently, I did a workshop that showed you how to use AI tools and essentially train the tool to speak in your own voice. And
Literally your voice, or your voice
well,
meaning and your mindset, or
your mindset or
okay.
your writing style,
I
let's say,
see. I
right?
see.
Yes. And I was just stunned that that would be possible, that that is a thing. And I tested it out, and it spurted out, here is, the commentary I have on your writing. It's clear, it's creative, it's bubbly, whatever, it smiles, whatever,
Right.
right? It did that. And then I told it to, like, outline a script for a video on a particular topic, right? Narrow, narrow, narrow. And I was like, whoa, it was really blowing me away. And I realized that as an appraiser, I've got to learn how to incorporate AI effectively. I shouldn't shy away from it, because even if the software is generating some information back to you, you still have to fact check, right?
True.
You still need to know from
Please
what
fact check.
sources. Yes, you have to do that. You absolutely have to do that. So it's not like you can just let it operate independent of you representing you. You've got to review the work, and also, I saw some text that just didn't have any, like, soul to it,
Right.
right? Because it's not human. And so, you've got to integrate yourself into it as well, right? So that it's representing your voice in the right frame. Um, so yeah, that would be my response.
So interesting, but maybe you can use it can be used like to assist, but definitely not replace.
Right. Absolutely.
Which I'm
Absolutely.
happy to hear that. We don't want to
Yeah.
replace you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to discuss? Are you looking for clients in your appraisal? I know you have the YouTube channel. We're going to
Yes.
be putting your Instagram, your website. In fact, let me just pop it quickly on the screen. And
Okay.
while I have that up, you can let us know if
Yeah. I have a partner that I work with for several years on appraisal work, and we're happy to answer any question you have about appraising your artwork. And no question is a dumb question, honestly. You
Okay.
should feel that's really important to me as well. I should have mentioned this, April, is, I want to present and operate as consumer friendly, as accessible, not I know more than you do. I want to
I'm
be,
happy to hear that.
yes, education is really top of mind for me. And I want to be, helpful in any way I can on bringing value to your collection, or if you're working with individual piece, what have you. That's the framework that I work under. So
I'm happy to hear that because that's the goal on this channel as well, is to just make art more approachable. Sometimes people can feel intimidated, even just going to a gallery or
that's
museum because they feel like they don't know, or their view of a particular piece, because it doesn't come with a background or an education in art, then it's not valid, but it
mhm.
is.
Oh, absolutely. Right, right, right. And your response to the work is as valid as anybody else's.
Exactly. Very true. And then you have an Instagram. So this is your Instagram.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, join me on Instagram.
Definitely follow her on Instagram, everybody. And this is it. It'll also be in the description, like we always say. So everything will be there. And if you don't have anything more to share, do you feel like we pretty much
Um,
covered everything?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Well, I just want to thank you so much. Really appreciate the time you've taken to speak with us and teach us. I mean, so much information. So please follow her on Instagram, go to her website, and as well her YouTube channel.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate you following me on YouTube, subscribe, and make sure you have your notifications on, right?
Right. And give likes to everything
Yes, and
so
likes
that
as well.
YouTube
That's right.
knows that you're liking it and they'll recommend it to others. And like this one too.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much, April,
you.
for the invitation to be on
Okay.
together.
Bye bye.